What if the reason that laundry, bills, dinner prep, and cleaning feel so exhausting isn't because they take so long, but because you're treating them like projects instead of processes? In this episode, we'll be talking about a concept I didn't even realize I was teaching until a friend named it for me: process over project. And once you start seeing your most annoying recurring tasks this way, they get a whole lot easier and a whole lot less draining almost immediately. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Do More, Stress Less podcast. I'm your host, Alexis Hasselberger, a time management and productivity coach. In every episode, I give you actionable, practical tips to help you learn to use your time in a way that feels good to you every day. No more hustling, scrambling, or struggling to keep your head above water. So let's dive in, and soon enough, you'll be doing more and stressing less. Recently, a friend of mine told me that he'd been frequently incorporating the concept of process over project into his workflows, which he said he'd learned from me. Now, I wasn't actually familiar with this term, process over project, so I asked him for examples. And as soon as he started listing examples, I knew exactly what he was talking about, because he's right. This is something I talk about all the time. But apparently, I needed someone else to coin the phrase. So what the heck does process over project mean? Well, it's the idea that instead of, these drudgery type tasks of life, thinking of them as projects that you need to make time for, what if instead you build the processes into your life? You tackle small pieces instead of the whole thing, and you do it opportunistically as you have a few minutes throughout the days. So how can you incorporate process over project? Want some concrete examples? Yeah, of course you do. So I'm going to give them to you. So let's start with laundry. Laundry. Instead of thinking of laundry as this massive task that you need to make time for, what if instead you load the washer at the beginning of your workday? And if you work from home, you swap it to the dryer an hour later or so. Or if you don't, you swap it to the dryer when you get back home. And I see you side-eyeing me about the potential mildew, but let me be clear. From experience, a few hours of wet clothes sitting around the washer will not make a difference. That mildew smell doesn't start until at least 36 to 48 hours later. Again, trust me, I know from experience. And then, plop those dry clothes on your couch or the bed, and when the time comes in the day when you just can't think anymore, pop on your favorite guilty pleasure TV show or that audiobook that you just can't put down or that new podcast that you've been meaning to listen to and watch or listen while you fold. Now, putting the laundry away, that's a whole other ballgame. That part's actually my nemesis. I hate it so much. But if you want to know what's been working for me lately, I basically stack all the piles of folded clothes around me on the bed while I'm folding so that I'm trapped and I can't go to sleep until I get all those clothes off the bed. So much of productivity is actually mental trickery. And as I sit here in my home office right now, I am actually staring at a pile of clean clothes, the 4 loads of laundry that I have done in maybe 30 seconds or so, and it's 2 p.m. right now. Right? So this really doesn't have to take a whole lot of time. And I can already tell you that I am thinking of the evening and when I'm going to be watching the great pottery throwdown while I fold that laundry. And it's actually kind of exciting because I want to watch that. All right, what's another example? How about dinner, right? Dinner, unfortunately, has to get on the table every day. And if you're like me, you want a healthy meal on the table every night. But the thought of finishing up work and your personal tasks and then cooking for 30 to 45 minutes during the witching hour when everyone, including you, is tired and hungry and cranky just fills you with dread. There's an easier way to get that same result. And it's process over project. Now, a caveat for this one is that it's much more effective if you make a rough meal plan each week. And let me know if you want more content about that. If you want me to do a podcast about meal planning, I would be so happy to do it. But assuming that you know what you're going to cook tonight and that you're doing it on a work from home day, you can have most of dinner basically prepped long before the end of the workday without feeling like you did anything at all. I'm not joking, seriously. While you're making your coffee, take the chicken or whatever out of the freezer to thaw, or marinate it if it's already thawed. When you're microwaving your lunch, chop up that cauliflower or whatever and put it in a pan with some olive oil and salt. It can sit on your counter for the next 6 hours, no problem. And when you're grabbing an afternoon snack, make the salad dressing. And then when your workday is over, all you got to do is pop everything in the oven. Now, pro tip, I often pop it all in the oven and then I go for a run while it's cooking because this makes me feel like I'm really doing double duty. Now, when you start living this process over project life, suddenly dinner doesn't seem so much like a burden. And also, if you work in an office most of the time, I'd be remiss if I didn't sing the praises of sous vide machines, instant pots, and slow cookers. If you pop your dinner in the morning before you leave, it'll be ready when you return home. How about another example? Tidying and cleaning. I hate cleaning. I hate it so much. There is no way that I want to spend a few hours cleaning the house once a week. And even though I do have a cleaner who comes every 2 weeks for the deep cleaning, because if that didn't happen, I don't think my toilets would ever really be clean. There's actually a lot of maintenance cleaning that needs to be done to make sure I'm not living in a total pigsty, especially with 2 teenage boys. And they do a lot of chores too, but still, So you can think here too, process over project. When you leave a room, scan it quickly and bring anything that belongs where you're going with you. Or even just bring it closer to where it belongs. Right now, I am looking over at my staircase and seeing that there is a bowl on it. That bowl is there because I brought it from my bedroom earlier today, and I will bring it up to the kitchen the next time I go up those stairs. When you're waiting for something to microwave, or for the water to boil, or for your coffee to brew, you can wipe down the counters. You don't need to wait until it all piles up. Tackling a little pile or a mess as you see it allows you to keep things tidy without blocking off specific time to clean. And I really, really mean this. I hate cleaning, but I like living in a tidy house. And if I weren't doing it this way, I would not be living in a tidy house. Let's see. Another example here is exercise. What if getting adequate exercise didn't mean making time to go to the gym for an hour on the daily? Because let me just tell you, that's not something that I have done for many, many, many years. Although exercise is important to me, and it might be important to you too. Studies show that building in movement breaks, even a few minutes at a time throughout the workday, can be just as effective as that 30-minute workout. And I've been experimenting with this a lot lately. Every time I get up from my desk, I'll do a few minutes of exercise, maybe some jumping jacks, some push-ups, some sit-ups, maybe some kettlebell swings, maybe I'll do some squats, or when I'm going up and down the stairs, maybe I'll go up and down a few more times. Just this little bit of exercise really does help. So what's the key to making process over project work? It's planning. It's always planning with me, isn't it? A little bit of planning actually goes a long way. If you know what's on the meal plan, it's easier to do that micro prep. If you know what exercises are in your repertoire and you have a little checklist, it's easier to build that in without decision fatigue. And on and on and on. So process over project is a way to lower the bar until the task feels effortless, not burdensome at all. And now it's your turn. I want you to think about what recurring tasks feel like absolute drudgery to you, but might not be so oppressive if you approach them as a process and not a project. Think about it and maybe try one out this week. If you're loving this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you took just a moment to give it a 5-star review. This isn't a vanity metric, although, of course, I want to know if you like it. Your reviews help other listeners find the show. It really makes a difference. So your review is a sort of pay it forward type of good deed.